I have missed you guys. We are back for another season of Candid Conversation with Charisa. I am your girl, your friend, your coach, your trainer, Charisa Monroe Wilborn, and I am excited to be bringing to you season 7. And guess what? We are continuing to bring you real, to bring you raw, to bring you deep truths about life, about family, about fun, about relationships, leadership, and purpose. And I get to do what I love best, answer your questions. You, my community, have been rocking with me for some time. And I want you to know that I see you. I want you to know that I hear you. And I want you to know that I understand you. You are not alone. So the questions you have, if I can answer them, if I can help inspire and motivate you, that's why I am here. So make sure you are watching Candid Conversations with Charisa every week for the next few weeks, just in case I am answering your question, or just in case I'm answering a question you didn't think you needed the answer to. Make sure you grab a friend, make sure you grab a family member, pen and paper, take notes, whatever you do to get your transformation and your breakthrough right here on this season of Candid Conversation with Charisa. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share, and comment. See you soon. Hi, babe.
Hello.
It's nice to have you joining me.
It was nice to be invited back. Like I don't think I've been on an episode since season 2 or something.
It has been a while, but my friends and community have enjoyed episodes where you've joined me and we've had conversation and we've talked about stuff. And so I wanted to bring husband back on for you guys to experience him. He always brings just a whole different flair to Candid Conversations with Charisa. And so we're going to talk about a few things on this episode. We're going to answer another community question that I thought was a very, very good one. And so we're going to talk about how to know you are walking in your purpose. And many of you know that I love talking about purpose. And it just so happens that my husband has a whole organization called Men of Purpose. And so he too is extremely important and passionate about purpose in young men, becoming great men of purpose, walking in their purpose, doing life on purpose, making decisions because of purpose. And so we're going to have that conversation.
Oh, we are?
Yes,
okay,
we are.
Yeah.
So, how to know that you are walking in your purpose? And I know you and I had kind of talked about this prior to, as we were really thinking about, what does that sound like? What does that look like? What does that mean? Mm-hmm. Because interestingly enough, you can actually be walking in your purpose and not know.
True that.
You can be doing the thing that God created you to do and have no idea. And it could be because it's come so natural. It can be because you love doing it. And then the flip side to that is some people know their purpose and they aren't walking in it, or they don't know their purpose, therefore they don't walk.
True. But
there's someone that wants to know, how do I know that I'm walking in my purpose?
Right, I'm gonna give the cheap dime store answer right now. First of all, I believe like everyone has the same purpose, right? And that purpose is to make disciples. The rest is us figuring out how to fulfill that particular purpose wrapped inside the collective purpose. All right, so maybe I can answer it this way. All right, so we already know purpose is the thing that you were born to do, right? It is the hidden instruction that's inside of all of us, simply waiting to be discovered. But I liken it to this. So you've already said it can be one of two ways. Either you could be doing the thing already, or 2, you can discover it and then begin to walk that out. Mm-hmm. And so I kind of liken it to, all right, we have dogs. And so every dog that I've ever brought home has never come home with their parents. They came home by themselves. Yet, it instinctively knew how to walk like a dog, how to bark like a dog, how to pee like a dog, without any parent giving him or her that instruction, which means there's some things that are already built inside of the dog, even without the direction and guidance of his parents, it knows how to do. So I liken that to, I think, us as human beings in many regards. So if I can look back and reflect my adult life. So she mentioned that, I have an organization, Men of Purpose, Journey to Self-Discovery, right? Where I said our mission is to teach, train, and motivate a band of young men to become self-productive world changers, right? And so although the organization itself has only been in existence since 2017, it's something that I've always done, meaning mentor boys, right? Even when I didn't know per se that's what I was doing. So it started off, I started coaching baseball when I was 21 because that was my first love. But I really got into wrestling and I wrestled. And so for nearly all of my 20s through my 30s, I was a wrestling coach. And so I was always, even before I discovered this thing called purpose, right? It's what I had always done. And so it was a natural progression, maybe not even a progression, but when the organization started, it was me doing something that I had always done, right? So that's one aspect of it. The second piece is, when I say so that's for the person who maybe hasn't discovered their purpose yet, but it could be something that you've always done, right? And then when you discover the thing, it's simply now in line with the thing that you've been doing. The other piece is, if it is really purpose driven for you, it will be an overarching theme in your entire life. And so I think even the other day when we were talking about it, it may have been the first time I'd probably verbalized it to you, because I probably only said it in my mind. I remember saying it just a couple times. But I said my overall purpose, although we deal with mentoring boys, I said I correct error. That's what I do. And so when I say it should be the overarching theme in every area of your life. So when I say correct area, here's what I mean. So I've always talked about the organization Men of Purpose, right? Is designed to change the way young men think about themselves. But outside of that, I train dogs, which is probably why I used the example of dogs earlier, right? And one of the programs that we have at Mr. K9 Dog Training is called No More Excuses, right? Which means it's a program designed to train anyone who has a pit bull. We'll train it for free, right? Because what we're trying to do is change the perception of the pit bull. And the other thing that I do, the one that actually pays most of the bills, is I'm a detective with the Chicago Police Department. And so what I do is when I'm interacting with the public, whether it's not solving cases, whether or not it's just simply talking to the public, it's I am trying to change the public perception of what they believe about police, right? When I correct errors, is I simply try to change the way people think, the way the boys think about themselves, the way people think about pit bulls, the way people think about police. So for me, that's my overarching thing. So when you talk about, if you're walking in your purpose, again, on one hand, it could be the thing that you always do. And the other hand is, it could be something that you have yet to discover, but when you look back over your life, you say, oh, I can connect the dots on all of this. Maybe that answers some of the question. I don't know, Boo.
I think it does. And I think the other thing, and it's funny that you talk about your purpose being overarching, you correct error. Because the first thing I think about is the fact that you are police. And then I think about the fact that you train dogs, but even in the training of dogs, you also train the handlers. So there is this training that happens with the handler, and how we as the handler sometimes can make the dog worse, or we can actually mess up a good thing in the dog because we don't know what we're doing, because we don't know how to do it. I didn't recognize how important that was. Like how interesting it is that I can actually make my dog become more in error by being in error by myself.
True.
Go ahead.
No, here's the thing. So one of the things we always say with dogs is that, and especially when we have clients who want their dogs to come in to do what we call personal protection, right? And one of the things we always say is that the dog has to have it in him already, right? If it's not in him, there's nothing we can do to bring it out. And just because you have a shepherd, a Doberman, a Rottweiler, a Pit Bull, doesn't mean it's going to do it. It's not in them to do, right? But that dog is no different than anything else, right? You don't take a Tennessee Walker and try and make it a quarter horse. It's not built for that. You don't take Cadillacs to the racetrack. They're not built for that. And so I think oftentimes what we're trying to do is make something or someone do something that they aren't built for, right? And so the idea of whatever is in you will come out simply with the right environment. And so, of course, we always talk about we could put a tomato seed on this coffee table right here for the next 40 years and nothing will ever happen. But if I take that seed and simply put it in its right environment, the thing that it's supposed to become, it would naturally become.
And I think it shows the connection between purpose and potential.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we tend to look at those things very separate. Like we look at purpose by itself, then we look at potential by itself. But if you looked at those together, if you look at the potential that you were placed on this earth with,
mm-hmm.
if you look at your gifts and your talents, it is a very good indication of what your purpose is or what it can be. Because if my potential is not that of a singer, but I believe that it is my purpose to sing globally around the world, mm-hmm. I'm going to fail miserably.
You're lying to yourself.
Because, exactly. And I can't sing. Now, I can sing in the shower, I can sing with a choir, but I don't have that gift. But there are some people who have that gift and they have developed it, and that's part of, and they use that gift as a part of their purpose. It's no different than me trying to play basketball and want to be a pro at it. It's not a gift of mine. It's a gift of persons like LeBron James and Kobe Bryant, the Michael Jordans. Like, that's their gift. And they have been using their gift to make money. And then they've been using that money to change the world, to change the lives of so many others. And so when you talk about how do I know that I'm walking in your purpose, give your potential a look. Give your gifts and talents a look. What are some of the things that you can do? What are some of the things that you can actually develop naturally? Or what have you been doing? Maybe you've been doing some things for a while, and because you did it so naturally, because you did it automatically, you had no idea. You didn't think like, oh man, maybe this is part of it. Which also means, what have you been doing? And you and I talked about this. What have you been doing without pay? What are you also willing to do without pay? And how do you feel about that? Because when I think about, you mentioned 3 different things that you do to correct error. You are a police officer by profession. Then you are a dog trainer. You've been doing that for almost 30 years. Mm-hmm. And you will now have an organization, nonprofit, Man of Purpose Journey to Self-Discovery. Of those 3 things, only one of them pays you.
True that.
And it's probably the one thing that you can do without you actually looking forward to kind of saying goodbye to that part, so that you can do more of the other 2 that pays you nothing.
This is true. And I think this is going to be important here too, right? Because I think oftentimes people make the horrible mistake, and I've had this conversation recently too. They make the horrible mistake of believing, oh, once I discover my purpose, I'm supposed to quit my job and go do X, Y, and Z. Maybe. Probably not though, right? Because I also think people have the misnomer that, oh, wherever I'm walking in my purpose, that's where the money is. Yeah, to some degree. But we have this belief that once I discover my purpose, I walk in my purpose, that's when I'll become the millionaire. Yeah, that might work for some of us. The vast majority, it ain't. And so I mean it in this regard. Sometimes, here's what I believe. I believe sometimes the purpose of your job is to fund your dream. The purpose of your job is to fund the thing that you are supposed to do. Because sometimes the thing that you're supposed to do...
Wait, say that again. The purpose of your job
is to fund your dream.
Is to fund your dream. The purpose of your job is to fund your dream. Can you elaborate on that a little more for the person listening and be like, wait, what did he say? That's a gem.
Well, I think sometimes if we're really talking about having an impact, right? Sometimes those things won't get you compensated, right? You're going to have an impact because you're trying to change either a person or a group of people's lives. But let's be honest, it might not be any money in that, right? Because if we go back to my very first statement, everyone's purpose is to make disciples, right? Sometimes that's a non-compensatable thing that's happening, right? You're simply training and teaching someone else a skill or a talent or a gift, or you're training and teaching them to follow in your footsteps, maybe, right? But there may not be any money in that.
It's not about money.
But you have to be okay. If the only reason you're in it is to make money, you're in bad shape to begin with.
Because you're not saying that there's no money to be made, or you're not saying that it can't make you money. It actually could very well make you money, but it can't be the thing. It can be the motivation. It can't be the number one reason why you're doing it. Usually, if it's the number one reason why you're doing it, I find that purpose takes a back burner.
True.
When it's something that I'm in this to get my bills paid, versus whether my bills get paid or not. First of all, I trust someone higher than anyone else to pay my bills or to meet my needs. However, I have a heart and I have a passion for the betterment of the world, for the betterment of a particular niche, and I'm going to work in that no matter what.
It's funny because you're bringing back a conversation that I had maybe 2 or 3 days ago. This other organization that I work for, they hired this new senior VP, right? And he and I are talking a few days back, and he's asking me like all the things I do for the company organization. He's like, man, they don't pay you enough. I'm like, yeah, I know. I said, but I've been here probably 16 years, not because of the pay. I've been here because I believe in the vision and mission of the organization. Luckily for me, I have another career that pays me handsomely that I don't necessarily, I don't need this particular job to pay my gas lights and phone bill. My career does that. But because of the mission and vision of the organization is why I'm here. So meaning, because the mission and vision of the organization is in line with my own personal vision and goals, I'm okay being there without the great compensation. Now, listen, money is always great. They say money can't buy everything, but there's some things you can't buy without money. So let me be clear about this. Money is good. But if it becomes your sole motivator, it's been my experience that at some point, I don't want to say it. Well, maybe I will. At some point, you will betray your character to go after more money, because now money becomes the primary thing. So you'll take a shortcut here, you'll take a shortcut there. And I remember, being offered some money to do some things. I'm like, yeah, I can't do it. Not that I didn't need the money, but because it was going to violate some principles that I had. And so, on one hand, yeah, we all need money. I'm not saying that, but again, this is why I think it's important not to abandon your job, right? Because again, your job might be the thing that funds your dream until your dream can get to the point where it sustains itself. Now, once you've done that, you can walk away from it all and you're in good shape. We're talking about monetary value, right? That thing that you're chasing to get, whether it's United States currency, whether it's pesos, whether it's whatever currency you operate in from wherever you're watching right now, right? But yes, there are other forms of payment.
Which actually leads me to say, if I had to add a number 4, what are you willing to do? And you and I talk about this all the time. What are you willing to do without acknowledgement? What are you willing to do without being noticed? What are you willing to do without the fame? Because people do a lot of things because they want to be seen. They want to be acknowledged. They want to be praised. They want their name to be called. And sometimes you're doing the one thing that people will always remember, or you're doing the one thing that's having the most impact and the most influence, but they will never know your name. You talk about this. You will never have a title. but your reward will be after you are no longer here. And someone gets to say, I remember when Destry just opened my door. No other man had ever opened my door for me. And then one day he said, let me get that for you. I can hear you saying that now. Let me get that for you. And no one ever opened my door since then. Something as simple as that, you know? But sometimes the reward is not going to be an earthly reward, if you will. It'll be a reward that we can only get from God. But there are many things that people do for all the wrong reasons.
You know, I like to use the phrase, like, I only want to be famous with a few, right? So I've always been clear, like, I don't care if anybody ever knows my name. That's not me. I'm like, I don't, and I always tell her, like, I don't want to stand on anybody's stage and speak. It's just not who I am. I'm a behind the scenes kind of guy. And so one of the things we talk about, you know, is every year when we go to Burundi, they put on this big to do when we get there, and I hate it. I hate it because it comes with a lot of pomp and circumstance, and cameras are there, people taking video, and I just want to be able to go somewhere, do the work, let the people who know I did the work for them, and then we go. And so, which is why I'm horrible at social media, right? Because I'll do a ton of things and I'm out, and not one time did it ever dawn on me, oh, I should take a picture of this. Because I'm not looking to be noticed. I'm looking to be famous with the few, those that I'm with, because the idea is, I'm simply trying to drop seed, right? We drop the seed, and interestingly enough, you know, the word says you reap what you sow, right? It didn't say you reap where you sow. And oftentimes we're looking to see
that's good.
The fruits of the seed you may never see it, but that might come up 15, 20, 30 years later in someone else. And so, like, even the things that I taught my wrestlers, right? The principles and some of the sayings I have, like, those were things that I learned from my coaches, right? So here they are, they're getting the benefit and experience of these coaches way back when from people that they've never met. And so I think, you know, as you walk that whole thing out, and you're dropping seeds, or you're mentoring, or you're discipling, like, the question always has to be, who am I doing it for? Right? And if you're doing it so the people can see you, and so you can get some monetary gain out of it, or you're looking to become rich or famous, you've already missed the mark. But if I'm doing it because I'm really trying to affect change, oh, you're in good shape right there.
I think that's really, really, really good. I have to go back and say this. You reap what you sow, not where you sow. That was really good. And if you remember nothing else, the 3 things we talked about on how to know you're walking your purpose. 1, it's happening in your life all the time. Or it's happening in your everyday life, almost naturally. It's happening all the time, and you're willing to do it without pay. And that's any kind of pay, whether it's fame, whether it's notification, whether it's like acknowledgement or monetary. You're willing to do it without pay. We never have like enough time for this. Like, I like this right here, and I know the people are enjoying this. Like, y'all want to see him again? Yes. Good. Yeah.
I mean, I am a handsome character, so I mean, I don't know why you wouldn't want to see me again, but it's okay.
Well, darling, thank you so much for joining me.
Thanks for having me.
Joining me in this episode.
You know, since I only get one invite every 5 or 6 seasons, thanks for inviting me, boo.
Well, you know, we gotta keep you hot. You a hot commodity, boo.
Yeah, I like that.
So thank you very much for.
Yeah, high five, lady.
You've just watched yet another inspiring, transformational episode of Candid Conversations with Charisa. And I hope that the principles and concepts in the episode are some that encourage you to take actionable steps to change and transform your life today. Don't be stingy. Make sure you are sharing and liking what you are hearing so that others can be a part of this community too. Make sure you are back here next week for another great episode of Candid Conversations with Charisa. See you next time.